it's Tammy Gaines, and I want to welcome you all to Tammy's Table. I want you to think about this as an experience that you used to have, where if you go to any awesome party, no matter where it is, no matter whose party it is, people always end up in the kitchen. And they end up in the kitchen talking about problems and talking about the future and getting education beyond what you get in the four walls of school. So that's what Tammy's Table is all about. It's about bringing people into the kitchen, talking about stuff that's usually hard to talk about, but making it fun and light and helping you leave with some really tangible action items to help you thrive in life. And in general, my focus is on building resilience, especially nowadays. Like being bigger than your problems is critically important. So every week I have on a guest that is going to help you do exactly that. And you'll fall in love with them because they're amazing. Starting with today, I'm super happy to have Melissa White here with me. Um, we have like such a great story. So we met, ready for this, in India. We didn't meet here. We didn't meet down in Georgia. We met in India, where we were both going to address a group of about 700,000 people on various topics. The trip went sideways, but one of the best things was meeting you. I love your voice. I love your spirit. You're really committed to helping women grow in so many different ways. Melissa is a life coach, and I say that, and it makes me be like, but you're so much more than that.
Yeah.
Like everybody's a life coach. But she's extraordinary. She will help you get from here to there with as little pain as possible. We're looking at a picture of your TED Talk, which I'm so proud of you for doing. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce Melissa. Welcome.
Oh, Tammy, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be at your virtual table today because we've had some real kitchen table talks in
You
different
sure
parts
have.
of the world. And so I'm glad that we get to let other people in on the conversations we have at your table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to get right into it because we don't
Yeah.
have a ton of time, and this is a very big topic.
Yes.
But I thought it was extraordinary. I said to you, what do you want to talk about? Like, what do you think we should rap about when it comes to like building resilience? And you said, you know what? I think we should talk about overcoming disappointment.
Hmm.
And I was like, ooh, that's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great topic. And everybody's experienced disappointment.
Mhm.
How we experience it is very different.
Mhm.
So I'm going to start with like a big question,
Okay.
which is, do you think people sometimes set themselves up for disappointment
Uh,
by expecting different outcomes or
mhm. Yes, I do. I think we set ourselves up for disappointment when we expect things outside of our own aligned values, beliefs, and goals. And I mean, disappointment is inevitable. That's a sure thing in life, like death and taxes. It's there. And what's unfortunate is we spend our lives trying to navigate and plan our way around avoiding disappointment instead of we have a plan for when things go right. And oftentimes, though, we don't have a plan for when things go wrong, which is essentially emotional mitigation, right? Like, beforehand, back screen, we were talking about, hey, planning for our kids, planning for their future, planning for education, planning for if their lives don't go right. What happens, though, when you make a plan, but you don't have a contingency for yourself? You're disappointed.
Mhm.
You're disappointed. And it's just interesting to me. We will have a plan, insurance, and contingencies for everything, but not how we emotionally will recover when things don't go the way we want.
So do you think it's a matter of is part of it a matter of managing expectations?
Mm. I think we have to be really careful with that. I
Yeah.
love this topic for a couple of different reasons. We should all have expectations because expectations are tied to hope. And I try to be very careful when people talk about, well, manage your expectations because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you become hopeless. So you don't give yourself the chance of a human experience to have hope, to have joy, to be excited about something. I mean, that would be a cynical existence, right? But I think it is important, though, to be clear about your expectations and to always assess, is the situation I'm in or the decision I'm making of people I'm around meeting the expectations I set for myself, and be honest. And I think that's the bigger issue. Not setting the right expectations. It's, am I being honest when my expectations are met? And am I voicing that early enough so that not as much damage is done from the disappointment? And I have one word for that, and that's, well, three words: activate your voice. That is what I'm all about, is giving a voice. But how many times are you disappointed or something doesn't go your way and you don't say anything? So now the bigger issue is not that other people disappointed you, but that you didn't voice how you felt about it.
Okay, so let me put this out there to you. And I know we've talked about this before, but I'm going to put it out there again.
Mhm.
I think one of the hardest things to do when it comes to disappointment,
Mhm.
um, in relationships. So I have people in my life that always do the same thing, but I expect them to do something different. And that's why I'm disappointed.
Mm.
What do you think about about that? Like when it comes to whether it's work relationships, personal relationships,
Mhm.
it's almost like that definition of insanity.
It
Like if they've always responded the same way, why would you expect them to do something different now? And that is extremely disappointing to me.
Tammy, I have to applaud you because of the way you framed that. You didn't say they never changed their behavior. You framed that in such a way that I expect them to do something different, which is the first sign of self awareness. As a coach, I look for that, which means you're coachable and taking ownership that I had an expectation of change, but yet the behavior never matched the expectation I set. That's more honest, and you now have the ability to reframe that for yourself, because the truth is, we can't control other people's behaviors. We can voice to them our disappointment in hopes that they change. But the reality is, do I want to readjust either my relationship and my proximity to them because I know the behavior? And so now I have to govern my life in a way that I have the right expectations for myself. And I think
Mhm.
that's what's most important. But I think we can't gloss over how you framed that question. Whereas most people, and I know for myself, I would say, well, they didn't do this. It's like, well, wait a minute. Have they ever done it? Have they ever been consistent?
It's
Check
exactly.
yourself. It's like, oh, wait, that was a flaw in me and how I wanted to see them. And so it's really important that we look at it from the right perspective of self-awareness.
Yeah, I think I was complaining to my cousin at one point uh about a relative, and she was like, "Why do you keep expecting a different outcome from the same person?"
Mm,
Um but that personal disappointment is it's different than like, oh, I like went to the grocery store and they were out of, X and I was disappointed.
right.
Yeah, I think in relationships it's very difficult to manage disappointment. What's been your experience? Like why was this a hot topic for you?
It's a hot topic for me because in my line of work as a coach and in the business of transforming lives, right? Oftentimes people find themselves stuck in transition because they are mulling over the disappointment of the past, and the disappointment now becomes a trigger point or a wall, if you will, that they can't move beyond to even go into their future. Another
Mm.
reason why it was important to me, just given our personal relationship and just conversations, I had to get really clear and unpack my own disappointment to move forward. Had someone say to me recently, you can't transform lives if you don't transform yourself. So I've been personally challenged this last year. You know, a lot of people are posting about 2023 was hard, 2023 was this and that or whatever. I say, if so many people are feeling this way, what are they doing about it?
Right.
What are you going to do differently? Are you going to change some things in yourself and how you see things in your relationships? And so when I started wondering this for others, I said, let me unpack my own disappointment for a minute so that I'm not stuck in 2023 and I can give myself a full chance at moving forward in 2024 and beyond at whatever time you're watching this. It don't get stuck at a moment in time. And disappointment will do that. It will rob you of your future if you don't deal with it appropriately.
That's amazing and true and hard.
And hard. Yeah.
That's the hard work that most people, I think, don't want to do.
Mhm.
Um, I want to get into how, uh, how like you overcome disappointment. But first, I want to tell everybody about your awesome retreat that's coming up. By the way, you've only gotten a taste of Melissa. You've just gotten a little sip. But if you want to do a deep dive into her awesomeness, you got to check out this cruise. I'm going to tell us all about it. I'm excited.
Absolutely. The Activation Summit, or it's an annual international retreat. I was actually introduced to retreats when we met, Tammy, and I fell in love with the impact and transformation that can happen quickly in an environment where you get like-minded people together. And so my mission is to help you be seen and heard at work and in the world. And we create international experiences to do that. It's a way for you to come reset, find your voice, increase your faith, and to walk in your impact. We do that with like minded executive professional women from around the world with experience as speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs. But we do it so that you can travel while transforming. And so this year in July, we will embark upon a cruise together with 9 different ports. And each port is very symbolic of that transformation and letting some things go so that you can find your voice again. And so just I'd love for you and your community to join us or just connect with these experiences that I offer year round to activate your voice.
I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Um, Listen, personal development that's not happening in a hotel room.
No.
I think that's brilliant.
It's not. Oftentimes we're talking about disappointment, and so the first thing is proximity. You might have to change location or remove yourself from environments that do disappoint you, from circumstances, whether it might be a place you live, an environment, and of course it may not necessarily be your family that you can detach from, but you may need a minute, you may need a beat to go, hey, I need a trip, I need a sabbatical, to reframe my life and come back with a clear mind. And that's why this is so important. And put yourself in proximity to what you're dreaming for.
Yeah.
If I say I want to be a global speaker, well, let me put myself in a global setting. If I say I want a better friend group and women who inspire me, let me move and put myself in proximity to women like that. So resilience, Tammy, means I am strong enough to not sit in the mess I'm in and get up and make a message out of it and get to the other side of what I really want.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a decision. And there's some tools though to help you do that. Coaching is one of them.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Um, I feel like a lot of what we talk about,
Mhm.
like when it comes to empowering women or, rising above your circumstance,
Mhm.
it's so much easier said than done. Like we could read about it, we could
Mhm.
talk about it, but actually putting it into action, I think is takes a lot of courage. And it does take some tools. It takes like sort of a path to run on. Like most people have no idea. Like, Melissa, that sounds great. I want to overcome disappointment. Uh, what now?
Yeah, yeah.
So, let's take a quick commercial break. And then we come back, let's dive into like some very specific steps that people can take.
Absolutely.
All right.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So, tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Okay, and we're back. We're back with Melissa White. Hey, real quick, how can people get in touch with you if they want to?
Absolutely. I'd love for your audience and community to connect with me. You can learn more about all things activation, whether it's finding your voice at work or in the world, at melissadwhite.com. From there, you can pick whatever journey works best for you, whether it's coaching, live experiences and retreats, or just one-on-ones to dig deeper about how you want to be seen and heard in the world.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's get dirty. Give me like some really specific steps that, you know, our listeners can take with them and put into action like immediately.
Absolutely. So the first thing to recognize is acknowledge the disappointment and call it out. And because you can't heal what you don't deal with, like you have to address it. That's the first thing. How do you address it? And the most practical step for me is journaling. I always say, in order to give something a voice, you have to give it language. And so daily journal practice is critical, not just in the work I do with women, but personally, it's been a part of my evolution. Journaling gives you an opportunity to really sit with your words and be honest. A lot of times you find that things will come out on paper that you can't say out loud. That's also a really great way to chronicle the cycles of your life and things that are occurring. And you can go back and say, wait, these are repeat times and situations where I've been disappointed and how I was affected about it. And you start to notice the patterns you need to heal. The second thing after journaling.
Wait. I'm going to jump back into journaling because I love that. I was cleaning out my storage unit with my daughter, and we found this box, and she said, is this garbage? I was like, what? It was all of my journals that I have been writing since I was, I don't know, like 9 years old.
Wow.
I've been journaling my entire life. I've had gaps where I don't journal. But it's pretty interesting to go back and look at when you talk about like the cycles of your life.
Yeah.
It's also like what habits are you repeating? Like what cycles are you repeating? That was a great, I mean, I was like, put that box down, drop it, put it right back where it is. Because at some point I'm gonna come in here and sit down and like go through to really, that's probably better than therapy.
You know, it is. And I'm glad you mentioned that in terms of therapy. I believe journaling is your real homework that you do partnered with coaching and therapy. I like to say therapy unpacks your past while coaching gives you a plan for your future.
Nice. I like that.
Because often people hear about life coaches and therapists, and although coaching is a practice, therapists are essential. I mean, that's a mental health, that's a clinical practice. And so I through therapy, my therapist gives me assignments. I understand too, especially women like you and I who are helpers. We are healers. We show up to serve and help other women and people in the world be, like you said, resilience. That's what you stand for. But again, we can only be as good as the therapy where we unpack our past hurts and, hey, what have I been resilient at? What have I overcome? For me, when are the times that I had to speak out, and how can I create a plan for other people to do it? So yeah, journaling is, I think, is most effective and impactful when you partner it with
Mhm.
therapy and coaching, because those are the assignments that you said it before. Like, it's messy work. This is deep work. It's not something I would ever expect anyone to do on their own, because
Mhm.
after all, you didn't get in this situation on your
On
own.
your own.
That's
You had
crazy,
help.
right?
You had help getting here.
Like, you had help getting here, so you're gonna need help coming out of it. So
Yeah, I
give
hear you.
yourself some grace. It's
Grace.
crazy how we will find ourselves in situations like, well, I'll just figure it out, I'll fix it. That's like, I don't know if guys feel that way, but women, oh, we are the queen of fix it. I'll just fix it, I'll just deal with it. And it's like, no, you did not get here alone. So having someone unbiased who is trusted and trained to bring you out of that is so important. So no one's expecting you to overcome disappointment on your own.
Yeah, that's so well put. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so we got through journaling.
So the other part of that is spending time with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Really say, hey, this is what I wanted to happen. And the next thing to ask yourself is, did I articulate clearly that this is what I want and expect? Through my own self-work and deep work, I learned oftentimes, and I hear therapists say that, and I lived it in real time, that, hey, did you tell them that's what you wanted them to do? Most relationships fail for unspoken expectations.
Mm.
They know that you expected them to call and check in every day. Or is that an unspoken normal rule because it's how you grew up, or that was your interpretation of a healthy relationship? So I learned the importance of giving language to what I want and how I want to live. A personal practice, again, if I'm giving practical steps, number one, daily journaling and sitting with your words. Number two is to now, after you write, you have to speak. So be able to speak and articulate. If anywhere in that journal it came up that you feel a way about something, one, did you speak the expectation, and did you speak the disappointment? Because
No and no.
and not for them to change, but for you to be free.
Ooh, that's so deep. You're killing me right now.
Sorry, friend, but it's true.
Yeah.
Because we figure, well, I just want them to change. When your body, your soul really just wants you to be free. Because whether they change or not, your self-care and your soul care is the priority.
Is there ever, I'm going to ask another question here.
Sure.
Is there ever a circumstance where maybe it's easier to flee than it is to speak?
Absolutely.
Because the speaking, like if someone has acted the same way for as long as you've known them, like what's the point of speaking? That's where I get to sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just easier to retreat.
Mm. That's the human experience. We're wired that way, fight or flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can just about guess I'm more on the fight spectrum, and so are you. but there are those of us who it's interesting you say retreat. Like, I just rather not talk about it.
Right.
Let me ask it this way. For anyone who does feel that way, like it won't do any good, or let me just retreat from the relationship, or I'm out. That's fine. But what's more important to you? Giving language to what happened and speaking up for yourself, or repeating the same cycle?
Mm.
Because if you don't address it, you'll repeat it. Let me say that again. If you don't address it, you'll repeat it. The beautiful thing about you finding your journals, Tammy, is that is your personal history. That is your personal chronicle of Tammy's life.
Mm-hmm.
Your journals chronicle your repeated experiences. Well, the issue is this: if you don't like the repeated experiences that you've journaled, You have the power to change them by speaking up for what you want and articulating when you're not getting what you want and need. And there's a healthy way to do that.
Just
Yeah. So it's really important. Again, it's one word will sum all of this up. It just and tie it with a bow. Forgiveness. Forgiveness. And I've heard it said, Tammy, over and over again about, forgiveness and, it's necessary. And some people will argue, hey, I'm not obligated to forgive. No, you're not. But if you don't, who really suffers? You
mhm.
or the person who hurt you? And
Yeah,
9 times out of 10, it's you. Forgiveness is the fastest way to unlock the jail cell you put yourself in and be free. It's the fastest way to open up your healing. It opens a portal to healing, and it allows you to wipe the slate clean for yourself. In my own forgiveness journey, I've learned the biggest act of forgiveness and the most important person to forgive is yourself.
absolutely. I was about to say
Because
that.
you knew, like you said, with the example of the family member, I knew they weren't going to do it. So I found in my practice that I had to forgive Melissa for knowing that they weren't going to do it. For my gut, my soul, my spirit said it wasn't going to work out. They've showed you. So it's like I forgive myself for giving another chance.
Absolutely. That's so, listen, I'm gonna bring you back for a whole thing on forgiveness, because it's such a deep concept when you think about it.
Yeah.
So talk to me. We have a couple minutes here. So we journaled,
Yeah.
we spoke on it,
Right. You speak. Yeah. Mhm.
and then what?
And then you run. So if again, 3 steps here: write, speak, run. And I live by that. And let me define when I say run. You run towards the life you want. For me, I'm a woman of faith, and whatever you believe, there's an agreement. There's an agreement you've made in your life. There's the life that you chose, and then there's the life that you and God agreed to. So my deep work, and the deep work I encourage you and your audience to do, is what is the life you and God agree to? And if anyone or anything doesn't match that, run from it. If there's any indication of things that don't meet your expectations, they are harmful to you emotionally, physically, run. But run in the direction of the life that you want. Right? Speak,
Beautiful.
run.
When you said run, I was like, oh, good, because that's normally what I do.
But
So I'm
not in the
glad
way you think.
I'm glad you expanded on that.
Run. Run
Yeah,
towards it. Give yourself that chance that you gave everybody else.
that's incredible. And by the way, it's really simple.
Mm.
It's not easy, but it's simple. It's a very simple recipe for a very complicated dish.
Mm.
But probably with daily practice, we can all, like you said, journaling daily, I think is critical. Sometimes I just scratch something on a napkin. It's not formally even in my journal.
Mhm.
Um, I think speaking it is hard. Like I will tell you for me,
Mhm.
like in a lot of circumstances, I'm just like, it's just easier to just like cut and run.
Mhm.
Um, but that's really good perspective.
Absolutely.
That last piece that you talked about, running toward what you want, running away, basically running away from what doesn't serve you. I
Mhm.
love that it's such a simple recipe that anybody can follow.
Absolutely.
Um, any other thoughts before we're like, any other thoughts on disappointment? I think it's such a great topic today
Yeah.
because there's so much disappointing.
My final thought is this, is the word disappointment is to disconnect from your appointment. So whenever you're disappointment, you have now been appointed with the life that you're supposed to have. It's a divine appointment for you to become yourself again and reconnect with your dreams. Run towards that and drop the disappointment.
Love it. I feel like there's a part 2 coming.
Oh, I feel it
to
too.
all
But
of
thank
this.
you. This is good. This is a
This
great
is
start.
Yeah, it's a
to
good
July.
start. It's a heavy
Yeah.
topic. Hey, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. You know, I've been trying to get you, busy lady. I've been trying to get you on for months.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah, but we're here every Monday at 12 o'clock Eastern, talking about another, just a different aspect of what resilience means. It could be somebody's own story of resilience. It could be this awesome like nugget that we got today about overcoming disappointment. But I encourage everybody to connect with me on social media. For sure, connect with Melissa. You can go to tammygaines.com to find all of my contact. And again, thank you so much. You're absolutely extraordinary, and I love you.
Love you too. Thank you.
Okay.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.